I can't do what she just did. She's up on the G. Help me! Hard. That's high. That's thicker vocal folds. Kia ora and welcome. My name's Zoe Stevie and I'm your vocal coach for today because we are going to be taking a look at Kelly Clarkson since you've been gone. I stumbled across this video yesterday while I was preparing for our Vocal Academy Masterclass all about vowel modification. And I thought that this was a perfect example of how using a more open mouth shape can help Kelly to stay on a chest voice quality and even belt higher up into the range, especially because we know that this song is like, since you've been gone, it's a high belted sound. So we're getting into what's she up to, how is she creating these vowel modifications, and how can you create them. So if you want to learn more about your favorite artists and how we can learn from them, hit that subscribe button. Let's get straight to Kelly Clarkson with Since You've Been Gone. Since you've been gone, since you've been gone, since you've been. Here's the thing, we started our friends. It was cool, but it was all pretend. Yeah, yeah. Since you've been gone, you dedicated, you took the time. It was okay. This song is, I'm like slightly obsessed with the song because everybody wants to sing it and they all struggle with the same places. So we go, I took the time. That's definitely a thicker vocal fold, chest voice with a little bit of breath. When we're singing with a little bit of breath, basically vocal folds are open. They're open and closed from the back. And we want to allow just a tiny amount of breath to come out. We don't want it to be dedicated, took the time. Okay, just a little bit to help warm the sound. Here's the thing, we started our friends. It was cool, but it was all pretend. Yeah, yeah. Since you've been gone. And this is very much like in her, I would say, quite an easy part of her range. It was sort of like around the D4 there, which is the mid, like the D above middle C. So dun dun dun, it started on friends. Very much in a relaxed part of her chest voice register. So she's got thicker vocal folds, low breath flow, and just with that tiny amount of breath, it also gives us the sense of distortion, even though there isn't much. I also think there's quite a vertical larynx position. We'll talk about that in the next little break. Here's the thing, we started our friends. It was cool, but it was all pretend. Yeah, yeah. Since you've been gone. You dedicated, you took the time. It was a long time I called you mine. Yeah, yeah. Since you've been gone. And all you that hear me say. Cool. She's just the most fantastic singer, is she not, right? Like, such control. I challenge you to actually walk and sing at the same time, okay? Because we know that even at this stage, she was an accomplished singer, lots and lots of training, but walking and singing at the same time is actually one of the exercises I give a lot of my students to help with some of the things that can come up when we get a little bit nervous, is that, well, not some of the things, but the heart races, and so our breath flow increases and it wants to push the air out, right? The heart sits next to the lungs and wants to kind of pump the air out. And so walking and singing at the same time can be a really great way to hold back the vocal fold, hold back the breath pressure with the vocal fold closure, but also use more of the muscles of the back and in the ribs to essentially hold back the breath. It's what we're trying to do pretty much the whole time that we're singing. Let's just go back on that. I feel like, speaking of like out of breath, I feel like I'm out of breath today. It was a long time I called you mine. Since you've been gone, and all you that hear me say is how I picture me with you. That's all you that hear me say. Yeah, since you've been gone. Oh, I love it. She's just amazing. So before we get into that section, okay, and I have looked at this particular performance, like a certain sections, as I say, I was preparing for our Vocal Academy masterclass yesterday, and I have to look at this on the channel because there's so much more to say about it. When we're looking at this first chest voice quality I said, I think it was a vertical thyroid position. Now, the thyroid is here. It's that first knobble, or your Adam's apple. And so for women, it's quite a lot higher than with gents. So we've got it sitting quite high, well, in my throat anyway. And in a vertical position, it's basically meaning that the vocal folds are thick, and it's the main difference between speaking and singing. So we've got dun dun dun, we started out friends. We've got quite a straight tone with no vibrato going on there. And that's signaling to my ears that this is a vertical larynx position. It makes it sound a lot more spoken on pitch. It suits this sort of like rocky kind of style. And it also gives us somewhere to go when we're talking about like the chorus, since you've been gone, when we're maybe going to tilt the larynx in that position. So just it helps to get a thicker vocal fold contact when we're not we started our friends, because tilting the thyroid actually thins the vocal fold. I hope that makes sense. Jesus, I've had a little bit too many coffees today. And actually, if it doesn't make sense, we're going to be discussing this inside my community, the Vocal Hub, which is where I sit down with you. Let's have a coffee together. Let's have a drink of wine. And we're going to discuss the videos of the month and get your questions answered so that we can really deep dive in together. You can sign up using the link in the description below, where we're going to sit down and talk all about the videos for this month on the channel.
You dedicated, you took the time. It was a long time I called you mine. Yeah, since you've been gone. And all you ever hear me say is how I picture me with you. That's all you ever hear me say. That you be gone.
I know, I'm gonna stop at the same place, okay? We noticed there was a little bit of AES narrowing, and all you never hear me say. That's still low within the chest voice register, right? We can't get very loud low in the range. So when we can get like to a certain degree of volume, but I notice this in singers all the time in one-to-one lessons, is they just try and push too hard. Dear God, lower in the range, just fucking allow the microphone to do what it's meant to do. So she's doing that a little bit by changing the filter, which is above the larynx. She's tightening the throat to make the sound, to tighten up the, it makes no sense whatsoever. Twang essentially makes the sound louder, okay? That's what I'm trying to get at. Do you know what? Where has this like rock version of Kelly Clarkson gone? So we've got this. Not a lot of people sing this section of the song like this. Let's just go back on that. Can you hear that straight tone? So since you've been gone, we're up on the C5 there. So that's quite high within the chest voice register. I think she's in a pure chest voice there. Vertical thyroid position, thick vocals. Since you've been gone, I can't breathe for the first time. And we were using exactly this section inside the masterclass because I was talking about I can't breathe. When we're going to the diphthong of the breathe, what often happens is there's a cutoff in the harmonics of the note, and often you can hear it acoustically. Breathe. That's what happens when we move the tongue position too much and don't keep the mouth more open on those vowels. I can't breathe for the first time. I mean, that's like too much vowel modification, but it's about learning how to make it not sound like you've all of a sudden having a stroke in the middle of your song. And that's what we're talking about inside the Vocal Academy, which is my online singing school where I coach you through each of these little sections of the songs that you're working on so that you can put these into your own vocal technique. So that's where you're going to get private singing lessons, and that is the Vocal Academy down in the description below. So Let's just go back on that because it's very much way spoken on pitch up there. I really love kind of how messy this sounds, and that's going to come across in the wrong way. I know it. But I'm loving that it's so emotional that we can, you know, the song, she wrote the fucking song. And so it's coming from an emotional place. And I'm loving that it's not really perfect because it doesn't sound like there's a vocal processor going on, like with the pitch correction on the microphone, which I'm obsessed with, okay? When she goes back down again, let's have a look at this still. We can see the tension in the arm. We can see she's holding onto the microphone. That pulling down of the microphone is actually her way of anchoring. So when a singer is pulling down on the microphone like that, we're engaging those larger muscles at the back. Look, that perfect posture as well, engaging those muscles to support the sound because we have huge muscles in our back, huge muscles in our chest. And you can even, I mean, the outfit really shows that you can see the tummy muscles as well. So we're seeing that pulling up of all the muscles in order to pressurize the chest cavity, basically, is what we're trying to do, is trying to create here a lot of pressure so that we're getting greater subglottic pressure to allow the vocal folds to close. It's very important that we're not only thinking about an upstream effect for our singing, but we're also thinking about a downstream effect as well. Greater subglottic pressure is also going to help us from the downstream effect for the sound waves and the way that we're moving our mouth and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, that's for another video. Okay, I can't do what she just did, but essentially you saw her, boom, she pulled those arms down. And what we're doing there, and this is, I'm very much at the beginning of my harsh vocals journey, okay, but this sort of thing is what we're touching on in my lessons with my harsh vocals teacher. And essentially what we're looking at is really pressurizing the thoracic cavity, so here in the chest, like I was talking about with thicker vocal folds. But what we're also looking for is we're pressurizing above the vocal folds. And it's really about finding that kind of perfect amount of pressure to really create pressure above the vocal folds and below the vocal folds. And that distortion there is what she's just done, I feel. We had a wide open mouth shape, signaling we've also got thicker vocal folds going on, or a chest voice sound. Oh, this is beautiful because it's like such an example of how, like, sometimes fuck perfect singing, because really we're involved in it. We're like, yeah, everyone's kind of singing along. You know, she would have sung the song like a couple of 100 times, if not 1,000, you know, many times before she got to this performance. So why not have fucking fun with it? And we can also hear that her jumping is also playing around with the air pressure and the sound in that moment. I love that we're hearing the live vocals. So when we've got the, and God, you never hear me say, ah, she's up on the G. Hear me say, I just wanna be. I think she went down actually. She's very much up on a belting quality, I think, in that moment. She's a little bit under the note, which can sometimes mean that there's a little bit too much pressure coming from the tongue going back down. But again, it's Kelly Clarkson, like she can make those own adjustments herself. We're seeing that arm pressure going, and you can see that she's actively pushing on the microphone. You can also see the tension in the hand holding on to the microphone. That's showing us the tension that's going into that as well. keep on touching her inner ear pack. So the little thing that she's got, I mean, you can't see, I don't have a belt on today, but the little pack on her belt there is what we would call your inner ear monitoring system. So she has the little earphones going here into her ears, and that allows her to hear her own singing voice as well as the band. Now, you can see she's touching it quite a lot within this performance. You can only imagine how loud this audience is. And then she's also got to be able to hear herself and the band. Now, most inner ear systems will also block out the sound from the outside, but obviously when you're moving around and things, it can come a little bit dislodged. Obviously, if you pull on the cable as well. But yeah, you can see her playing. So I don't know if she's hearing herself properly in this moment. So we're not going to judge any type of, she's a little bit flat in this section, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to talk about this in terms of when a singer in my studio sings this high and in this vocal quality and they do sound flat, this can be the case. I'm not trying to correct Kelly Clarkson. She's a masterclass in herself of vocal technique. So we're noticing a huge amount of tension going on within the body. Now, I know out there, singers say to me like, but Zoe, we're not supposed to have any tension when we're singing. Fuck off, okay? We need the right type of tension in order to create the sound. Like a tensionless singer would literally just be someone who's asleep on the floor. Without tension, honestly, you're just going to sound like shit. So anyone telling you that you should be tensionless is bullshitting you. They have reached a level within their own singing that they are no longer aware of the journey that they've had to go through. And that's exactly why I've gone back. I'm like, who the fuck am I? But that's why I've gone back to singing lessons, because it's reminding me a lot of the things that I have forgotten about in my vocal training. And I'm absolutely loving it because it's giving me such a fresh idea of what my students are going through as well. And communication and talking with them. I see it as it's super important that all vocal coaches should be back in vocal training as well, because we should be able to sing. Yeah. Anyway, so when she's gone there up to that high belt, I think we've got lots of tension, greater subglottic pressure, thicker vocal folds. What happens in belt though is we're tilting the cricoid cartilage. We'll talk about that in the next break. Okay, that was more of a scream really than a finer again and again and again and again. Oh, fuck. Oh, it's the G and she hasn't warmed up. Whew, I'm going to blow a gasket. So, hers was more of a scream though, which is fine because it's also really fucking hard to scream up on a high G. I'm not even going to try and attempt it. So we've got again and again and again. We sort of heard, and this is exactly what I was talking about. The masterclass, we're talking about vowel modification. We heard kind of the end again, and I went to an end, but she on the second part of the again, the overtones cut out. It's almost like the sound cut out. Now, again, it's Kelly Clarkson. You can do whatever you want, but in some situations we might not want that. Like for example, on the recording or something like that. In this sort of situation, in a live situation, I say it doesn't really matter at her level. It would matter in my studio though. What we're looking at there is not moving the tongue quite as much to allow the cutoff of the frequencies. We're wanting to move the tongue further forward in the mouth, and that's it's helping us by opening the mouth because it does assist in raising the soft palate. Oh fuck, I said I wanted to talk about cricoid cartilage. She'll belt some more. talking about with like it being a little bit messy, okay? Now, I've just spent like the last week at a festival, and I tell you, in a live performance, I really encourage you to go see more live singers, and especially rock and punk, because this is where you really see how energy matters in a performance, and sometimes like a perfect vocal performance is a little bit boring, yeah? This is awesome. I would have loved to have been at this performance, but in 2005, I was still at university, yeah? And I wasn't in America. So when we've got this, this open mouth shape now with belting, I've got back to it. The cricoid tilts, so the thyroid was here. We were talking about the vocal folds live. The cricoid's underneath it. It tilts back to thicken the vocal folds and allows us to basically create a really fucking loud sound by thickening the vocal folds thicker than thick. We're tightening the twang. We're manipulating the sounds above the vocal folds. And it basically means that when you get into the slipstream of belt, I'm not shitting you, it's fucking easy then to sing really, really loud. Like it feels almost effortless once we get there, but it's like a whole bunch of shit that we need to put in before we get to it's not just yelling on pitch, okay? And that's why inside my online singing school, the Vocal Academy, we focus on building up your technique step by step so that you don't just go out there and ruin your fucking voice. So if you want to learn how to actually sing properly in a step-by-step way, I will show you, I'll take your hand and show you exactly how you can get to, maybe not the screaming bit. I'm not going to teach harsh vocals. I have another teacher for that, but we're definitely going to be getting you to a position where you can sing really loud and really high, if that's your goal. But what I'm going to be showing you is I'm going to give you a plan. I'm going to give you a plan and show you step by step how to build up your voice so you can create any fucking sound that you want. That is my goal for you. And that's why I created my online singing school, the Vocal Academy, because I want that for you. I want that for you. We're the only singing school out there that provides group lessons where you can learn from other singers, weekly practice groups where you actually get to practice the shit that we're talking about on the master classes, like not just, oh, here, have a lesson, go away and do nothing, go away and fend for yourself for a week. We check up on you. We make sure you're doing it correctly. You can check in with us. We're making sure that you feel like you are achieving every single practice session, and then you come back for your one-to-one singing lessons. We're actually the only singing school in the world that is doing that at the moment. So I'd love to see you inside the Vocal Academy. You can check out the link in the description below. Let's take this home now, Kelly Clarkson. I love that. That must be so hard to sing. Like every time you take a breath, you just go like water in there. Okay. So when she's going, that's hard. That's high. That's thicker vocal folds higher up in the range. That's what I'm talking about with belt. We also don't have a lot of vibrato in there. Now, belt can be with vibrato or without, but a pure belt sound, we would train to have no vibrato, because that would mean that there is thyroid tilt going into the sound. And in pure vibrato, we don't add thyroid tilt. That's something that we add on at the end, and that then sort of moves out of the area of pure belt, but we would also call that sound a belted sound. Thinning, like thyroid tilt thins the vocal folds. So sometimes that can take people out of belt because we're really wanting them to be thicker than thick. Did you know? Yeah! She pulled down those lats to support that sound. I love that. You don't often get to see such like a pure performance of like with a singer like Kelly Clarkson. You often see this more at punk performances. there's a really fantastic singer called Deine Cousine, and she's a really perfect example of this vocal quality being taken further up in the range. I mean, there's plenty of amazing female punk singers out there, but this type of vocal quality is more used in the punk scene of a vertical thyroid and not having any like vibrato whatsoever coming out of the sound. Not normal really in that like pop bracket. I know that Kelly Clarkson started out more as a rock singer, but there's still a lot more thyroid tilt generally in female rock music, especially in Kelly Clarkson's world. So wow, lovely. What a fucking hell, what a masterclass in vocal technique, right? My goodness me. Whew. I just wanted to say that this sort of stuff needs to be looked at really on a one-to-one basis, okay? We can take Kelly Clarkson out of context and go, look at what she's doing here, here, and here. But what we were doing, for example, inside our masterclass, actually just yesterday inside the Vocal Academy, we were looking at it and then we were applying it to the singers' voices going, okay, here is an exercise. And now we're going to see what that looks like. How does that feel for you? And how can you take that and apply it to your own singing? We also looked at a whole bunch of other singers and what they were doing so that we can hear the examples. And then we were applying them to our own voices to make sure that we're using vowel modification in a way that actually helps us with our singing and doesn't mean that we're just like sounding like we're not really speaking English anymore. Okay, so you can sign up for singing lessons at the Vocal Academy using the link in the description below. Check out some more Kelly up here, and I just want to say, I've got to get on to my next singing lesson. Happy singing, Kaki Tano.